Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Anything But Hold'em, the Badugi to the Bone edition. Today we are playing two games of Badugi. On the left-hand side of the screen, we are playing a Brahe pot limit Badugi free roll. On the right side of the screen, we are playing a $2.20 fixed limit Badugi game. Both, of course, at PokerStars. That's almost exclusively where I'll be playing. I might end up on one of the other sites, who knows. But Stars is generally where I find the games that I want to play. So that's with the competition that I want to play against. So that's typically where you're going to find me streaming my games from. I suppose Tilt is one possibility that we might get some games from later on, and I suppose even Party Poker might be one that we get some games from later on. I've even got a count at 8 at 8, so you never know. Alrighty, so over here on the fixed limit table, I have been basically going to check call down with my Jack 10 for Deuce Badugi. I will explain the rules shortly here. There's probably people that are going to tune in that don't even know the rules of Badugi, because Badugi is one of the most unusual variants of poker. In fact, there are people in the poker world that would even dispute with me that Badugi is in fact a version of poker. I tend to think it is, because I think that the definition of poker really has nothing to do with the way you make your hands. Instead, I think the definition of poker has to do with a game whereby you bet with other players on the value of your hand. I think that that's the key definition of poker, that you've got things that represent value, which in the case of most poker games is casino chips, and you use those tokens representing value to bet with the other players at your table that your hand is the strongest hand amongst the group at the table. Now, of course, we know that involves the bluffing situations. We know that involves bluffing situations where you don't necessarily have the best hand, but you're representing the best hand with your bet. But that's all part of the point that I'm trying to make, that poker is about the betting on the value of your hand, not so much on the way you determine what value your hand has, if that makes any sense, folks. So given that, I think Badugi fits perfectly in, because you do not make value in your hand in Badugi in anything close to the same way that you might in a regular poker game. Regular poker game, you're looking to, make pairs, make a two-pair, make three of a kind, make full houses, make flushes, make straights, that sort of thing, right? Badugi's nothing like that. Badugi has none of those hands make any sense. You don't even have enough cards to make any of those hands in a lot of cases. It just is a completely different kind of poker game. What makes it a poker game, though, in my mind, isn't the fact that you're making flushes and full houses. I think that's irrelevant to poker. I think that's just a convenient way of measuring the value of hands that everybody agrees upon to get to the main point of poker, which in my mind is to bet with the other players at your table on the relative strength of your hands. That to me is poker, and that to me will always be what poker is. And it doesn't matter how you determine the value. It doesn't matter how you determine the value of that hand. It's the betting about the value that is the key. That is the key part of poker in my mind, and which is what makes Badugi a perfectly fine form of poker, even though nobody ever sees full houses or flushes or anything like that. And that's not what you're trying to get at. So, let me tell you what we are trying to get at in Badugi. Badugi is a 4-card draw game. Let's start out with the basics. Everybody gets dealt 4 cards around the table. The cards are all face down to the other players. Of course, the cards are face up to you, but that's only your cards that being face up to you. It would be a very hard game of poker to play if the cards, if even your cards were face down. That would be very difficult. So you get 4 cards now. Normally in poker, as I said, you're trying to do things like make pairs, like make 3 of a kinds, like make flushes and straights and things like that. That's not what you're trying to do in any stretch of the imagination in Badugi. What you're trying to do in Badugi is get, at the end of your 3 draws, 4 cards that are of different suits and 4 cards that are of different ranks. The "and" is a key point there, ladies and gentlemen. If, for example, like over here, for example, I have 4 cards of different ranks. However, I have 2 clubs, so therefore I do not have a Badugi. I have a 3-card Badugi. I can play a 10 deuce ace as my Badugi. So I had to throw the 7 of clubs out because the 7 of clubs was no longer useful to me. Over here, same deal. I've got 3 cards that are different, 1 card that's the same. I have to throw my jack out because it is of no use to my hand. I got another club back, so it's got to go. This is obviously because it's a club, so it's of no value to me whatsoever. I'm going to call through on this because I'm fairly happy still that I've got a decent Badugi. Everybody else is still drawing. No, actually, Ab alone is padding, which means they've probably already got a 4-card Badugi. So over here, I drew down under my 10 of hearts, so it's the 10 now that is a useless card to me. I've got 9, 6, ace for my Badugi hand at this point. Over here, I drew out to a spades, so I've still got just a 3-card hand, 10 deuce ace. I'm probably no good against a lone who's been padding and probably has four cards of different ranks and 4 cards of different suits. I wish I'd actually not let that time out because it wasn't a terrible hand and I could have kept playing that, but we will keep talking. I really don't think I can call this over here on the fixed limit table because I can't imagine that alone is padding without having a full-on Badugi. Since I did not have a full-on Badugi, I can never beat a full-on Badugi, no matter how bad that full-on Badugi is. Let me talk about how you make hands. If you have only 3 cards that can qualify, as I've said, that would be 3 cards of different suits and different ranks, with your 4th card either matching a rank or matching a suit of one of the other 3 cards. In that case, you can still win your pots. If nobody else has a full 4-card Badugi, and your 3-card Badugi is the lowest 3-card Badugi out there, then you'll win the pots. So just because you only have a 3-card doesn't necessarily mean you won't. The reason that I figured I couldn't win there is because she had padded. Well, I'm going to assume it's a she. No, I think it's a he, actually. Had padded over here. And therefore, I'm assuming that they already have a Badugi, so a 3-card is never going to win against a full 4-card Badugi. Okay, this hand over here is not a great hand in pot limit Badugi, but it's a natural Badugi, so I'm going to pad it a couple of times and see what we get at. Right, so he checks. So I can check actually through to another draw if I want, or I can pot here and very likely get a fold potentially out of him because I've padded. He's drawing. Yes, there we go. See? Just because I have a weak Badugi, he doesn't necessarily want to keep drawing. I'm out of this pot over here. I think that's just not. I don't need to keep drawing to that. Frankly, it's a fairly crappy Badugi hand. Badugi is played low for the record, so the best Badugi hand you can have is Ace, Deuce, 3, 4, where all of those cards are of a different suit. Now, this is one thing that confuses a lot of poker players because, of course, in most forms of poker, you're looking to have all of your cards be pretty and of the same color with all of the same little icon patterns on them, like hearts or diamonds or spades or clubs. This is a bad thing in Badugi. If I have Ace, Deuce, 3, 4, and they're all hearts, I have an Ace 1-card Badugi, and that is a very, very, very bad hand, ladies and gentlemen. Good to see some people here. Say hello in chat. Let me know. Let me know you're watching and saying seeing how we're doing here. We are going to get out of this hand on the fixed limit table. It's just not worth playing in. This one over here, on the other hand, was worth us calling through on. We're looking for a heart, obviously, over here. We've just improved our clubs and our total Badugi hand by dropping 1 rank, so we're actually doing okay. We're fairly happy. Vince got a big chip stack and can hurt us a lot. Looks like he's pretty happy with his hand, but we're going to keep playing because we're pretty happy with our hand as well. And if we bank a heart at any point in time in this, especially if it's a low one, we're going to be going like crazy and making a big pot over here. The difference between these two games, of course, is pot limit on the left, a fixed limit on the right. That, of course, plays, as is the case in all poker, it plays completely differently. There's a couple of ways we can interpret this pot size bet with 1 draw remaining here. Either he hit the card he was looking for and wants to get value out of the hand, or he was trying to bluff us or push us off and he hadn't hit, which turns out to be what the case is. So we're going to draw 1 more time to this. We've got no draws left, and we hit our heart. So I think we're in like Flynn on this one. Yep, and we sucked down that nice big massive pot there. So that was a Badugi hand. If you go back and have a look at that, that will tell you what makes a 4-card Badugi. I will say that wasn't a good 4-card Badugi. That was a moderate 4-card Badugi because we were, I believe, 9 high on that, which is not the best option in the world. We're going to play this one as well because, okay, this is an example of where you've got a tough decision to make in Badugi. We've got 4 different suits, but 2 of them are the same rank, the 3 of spades and the 3 of clubs. I got to get rid of one of those because they don't do any good to me. You just sort of have to pick one of the suits and discard it and hope you get a spade back when you do that, or hope you get a club back if you discard this guy, because in that configuration, your four different suits do you no good. We're going to try to check through this to get a free draw, see if we can draw to that spade again and see what happens. I think because Dakdon shoved, if it XI Bork that does a half pot bet-ish, we're probably thinking harder about calling, but I think almost certainly calling Dakdon shove here because it could be anything really for him. And I'll bet he draws again, in fact. Oh, no, he pats. So he thinks he's got a hand, but the way that he took time patting there makes me think that he doesn't have a terribly strong Badugi at this point. He's got a 4-card Badugi, but it's not hugely strong. Could be a king, could be a queen, could be a jack like I'm playing here. So if we had drawn into a spade, we would have probably been fairly happy with our hand. As it is, Borg drew as well. He's just patted to me, so I think that I'm probably, yeah, his 3-card was just amazing. So I was never competing against his 3-card. Righty, we're going to get rid of this, even though we've got potentially 3-card Badugi with the 9-3-10. It's not a very good one, so we're just going to toss it. Over here, we called through with a deuce 4-8 Badugi. We're going to get rid of our king and see if we can't draw a diamond into this mix here. We look at, obviously, you have to look at your draws as they go in a game like this. 2 draws, 2 draws. 1 for Well, 1 for me. So we've got, these 2 are not drawing great. Wells maybe got a reasonably good hand. We're going to throw some money into this pot and just see if we can't push a few people out. Getting mass to fold certainly improves our odds if we do hit a moderate Badugi by the end of the draws here. So Carol is still drawing 2. Carolicious is still drawing 2 cards, which is not the best Badugi strategy at this point, I would think, to be calling and drawing 2, but it depends. I mean, if you're sitting on an ace deuce ace 3 and that's what you're drawing to, then it's probably worthwhile. I'm gonna keep throwing pot money into here. I'm not thrilled with my 8-4 ace, but it's not a horrible 3-card either, so it's worth at this point, I think, throwing some money in and seeing what we get. I'm going to pass over here. It's not really worth my time. These free rolls, you can get involved with some pretty silly play and really lose your stack pretty quickly. So it's usually best to kind of tighten up once you build a chip stack at some point over in these. So we're going to draw obviously our 2 of hearts here. We're still hitting. We still only got a 3 card. Let's see what Carol does here. You know, I'm pretty happy with our 3 card. If that's all Carol has is a 3 card. Obviously, if she's got a 4 card, we're dead. But I don't really think it's worth throwing money into the pot anymore. We might push her off of a weak 4 card, but it's doubtful, seeing as we were both drawing. Yeah, and we might have gotten a fold out of that potentially. But I think that it's also a good chance of a tank call there as well. One of the things with the limit games, obviously, is that throwing a bet at the pot doesn't necessarily do much. Hey, Burko, how's it doing? Good to see you back, buddy. Good to see you back. Oh, you're seeing the same game at both tables? Alrighty, let me try to... Yes, I see that actually on the stream now. Let me try to fix that situation in my streamer. Hang on a second. Let us shut off this guy. So we have got the Brahe Badugi on the left, and that's what's showing, I think, on my streamer as well. We could play this, but it's pretty weak, I think, so I don't think we will. So let's go on here and do add our 220 fixed limit Badugi. Alrighty, that looks like we have a better situation happening now. I think we've got both games going on the screen now, which means in about 3 minutes you should actually see that as well. Burko, it's definitely good to have you back, buddy. Good to have you around. Notice the follow. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Tell your friends and family. Let me explain the rules of Badugi a bit for you. I've gone through it once, but we'll go through it a few times in this game because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people. Anybody that tunes in might be a little unfamiliar with Badugi. As I said, it's probably the least well-known form of poker. It's one of those ones that everybody's heard the name, but nobody, a lot of people really don't know what it means or what it is. And somehow we got this. Oh no, actually, I don't think that it's. Yeah, okay, sorry. No, I was just looking at my stream screen and seeing the same games up again, but I don't think I've gotten to the part on the stream, which is 3 minutes late, where I actually changed things over. So we'll wait before I freak out about that. So right, the object of Badugi, it's a low game. So you're looking for low hands, not high hands, and it is. You make your hands in a fundamentally different way than any other form of poker. Rather than looking for things like pairs and straights and flushes and full houses and things like that, what you're simply looking for is, by the end of the 3 draws, 4 cards that have a different suit and 4 cards that have a different rank. If any suits or ranks match, then your hand is degraded in strength. For example, over here, I have a 4-card Badugi. This is not a good 4-card Badugi. This is actually one of the worst ones that you can get. It's a King 8 4 3, because all of these are different ranks and all of these are different suits. Over here, I have a much better 4-card Badugi, which I'm going to be betting relatively strongly. And padding and expecting to pull in a decent sized pot over here. So I'm going to throw a bet in over here now that I've padded and well is still drawing. I think that we might well get our. So we're going to obviously max out our betting over on this pot limit table because we've got a really strong, well, not a really strong, but a pretty strong 4-card Badugi hand. Shetniet has been drawing the whole time, so we don't necessarily put him on a very strong hand. Even if he's drawn out, he may not. He's certainly not. That doesn't have much odds of drawing out to better than a 75. So that was a pretty safe value bet for us. We might have even wanted to go like half pot or something on that to see if we can encourage a call instead. But it's hard to do that because it kind of looks fishy if you don't pot in that spot if you've got a hand. So ready, back to the rules of Badugi. As I said, low game, so you're trying to get basically the best hand would be ace, deuce, 3, 4, where all 4 of those cards are a different suit. Although I should actually say that as 4, 3, deuce, ace, where all 4 of those cards are a different suit, because you actually value your Badugi hand from the top down. An example of that would be if I'm holding 6, 3, deuce, 1 as a 4-card Badugi, and you are holding 5, 4, 3, deuce as a 4-card Badugi, you win because you have a 54 and I have a 63. So the 6 loses to the 5 every single time, no matter what the other cards you have are. So if I'm playing a 6, 5, 3, or a deuce, ace, and you are playing a 6, 4, 3, deuce, you win because my 65 loses to your 64. So it's always valued from the high card down, and then you move that way. So over here, I've kind of drawn into a 4-card Badugi, which is an 8, 6, 5, 4. This is a 4-card Badugi because I have 4 cards of different ranks and 4 cards of different suits. I'm going to be throwing money into this pot because everybody else has been drawing 1 or 2 cards. Somebody else certainly might have hit their 4-card Badugi, but it's not necessarily a given. I don't know if we need to. I don't know if we need to raise here necessarily, but we should probably make well pay if they're still drawing. So I think we probably want to cap the betting on this round, or at least try to, and see what well does with this raise. Well caps. We're happy to call through. If we're going to pat, and we're going to see what Well's patting as well. So let's see what we get. I think from now on, we're not going to be going super aggressive against Well's bets. We're going to be calling behind. We're going to be check calling for the rest of this hand, I believe. We can't get rid of this hand because it's way too strong, but equally it's not strong enough for us to be going crazy when Well's been patting since the first draw. So at this point, again, we're still check calling through on this. We're never folding this on the final draw, but we're never valuing it enough to be going to the mat with it either, I don't think. Cool, glad to see it's fixed now, Burr. Hopefully you got the... Yeah, and we lost there. So let's bring up the hand replayer bit on that one and have a quick look at what we lost there. So that was me playing an 8, 6, 5, 4 versus Well playing an 8, 5, 4 ace. So there's a nice example of how you work out the hand strength from the top down. We both had 8s, so we moved down to the next card. I had a 6, he had a 5, so he wins, regardless of what the other 2 cards in our hands are. The fact that he was playing an 85 and I was playing an 86 means he wins all the time. That's why we slowed down. Once he caps out on the round and then pats, we know he's got a 4-card Badugi, or we're fairly certain he has a 4-card Badugi. You can certainly run a bluff that way, but that situation was not the sort of place where a bluff in that scenario is going to be successful. Certainly not once he sees me pat on that round as well. The fact that he is going through and betting that so aggressively tells me that we can potentially trap him later on with a very strong Badugi hand. And I'll bet you he continues to help us cap. We've got a wickedly strong 3-card hand developing over here, so we're actually going to throw some money into this pot and see if we can't pull a pot in. We're going to fold on the fixed limit one so we can concentrate over here largely, and it's not a really good hand over there anyways. So we're going to draw. We've drawn to a 10-5-4 ace. That's not a great hand, but I think we're going to throw money into the pot and see if Shietniat is going to draw into us. I think we're going to throw money into this pot because I think that we've got the best hand most of the time here with a 10 and him still drawing on the final draw. That's a value bet where when he calls, I'm expecting him to call there with a jack, a queen, or a king that he's hit in a 3-card Badugi or 4-card Badugi. I mean, we are going to get called by better 4-card Badugis that banked that third draw. This is an example of one of those horrible hands where you have to break up one of your 2 cards that have different suits. And a lot of times, if it's not super strong on the rest of the hand, I just get rid of those because I don't want to make the decision. So yeah, getting back to this hand we played with Well, where he took us down with an 85 to R86. The amount of aggression he played that 85 with is a little surprising to me, and what it means is that if we're in with a 7 or a 6 at some point against some of his aggression, we might be able to swell a pot by aggressing back at him and having him cap a couple of rounds instead of just that first round. We obviously didn't want to do it there because we know that an 86, 85, 86 type hands are not hugely strong. I mean, I'm not saying it's a terrible Badugi hand, but it's not a hugely strong one either, and you can easily see 7s and 6s and 5s come out, and even 4s. I mean, you know, we're going to see a 4-3 deuce ace come out in this game at some point. I'm sure. So going that aggressive on an 85, in my opinion anyways, is not going to pay off as well as it did for him on that hand as often as he wants it to, I think. I think that a lot of times he's going to run into me with a stronger hand at the end of that, and he's also going to have run into me being more aggressive in the previous drawing rounds with a stronger hand. So yeah, we're gonna keep our eye on Well, and we're gonna attack that potential tendency in his game. Alrighty, feel free to ask questions in chat. Introduce yourself if this is your first time in. Please click the follow button as well, because that way you'll be informed every time I play a new game over here. As you can see by the title, we are playing anything but Hold'em over here. That does not mean that we will play no Hold'em. We will occasionally play Hold'em. We've actually already here on anything but Hold'em. But for the most part, we will not play Hold'em, and we will, for the most part, not play PLO either, because Pot Limit Omaha is also a fairly common game that you can find streamed in many places. I suggest Jason Somerville's stream here on Twitch. J Carver Poker is awesome for Hold'em streaming. So if that's what you're looking for, head over and check him out. Absolutely add him to your follows. But one of the things that I noticed is that there's not a lot of people streaming games other than Hold'em. There's not a lot of people streaming the other variants of poker, the things like the studs and the 5-card draws, and well, what we're playing here today is the Badugi. It's funny, this ace deuce is an awesome 2-card hand and a great place to draw into, and we have literally drawn the absolute worst draw we can, while still drawing cards that look like they might be good for Badugi. Hands, it's remarkable how horrible that draw actually was, folks. Drawing to an ace deuce and drawing back an ace deuce, where one of those one of your paired cards is actually helping your suits out, is just a remarkably unfriendly draw for us. Well, we have to draw 2 cards again. But since the ace of diamonds and deuce of hearts didn't work for us, let's throw those and let's work with our ace of hearts and deuce of clubs and see what we get out of that instead. We get a 9 of spades back, so we've at least improved to a 3-card hand. It's not a great 3-card hand because when we draw to this, if we hit our 4 card, we are playing a 9 at best, which is not a great Badugi, but any 4-card Badugi is worth having, I believe, and we can potentially, at this stage, by throwing a half-pot bet in, which is, of course, being a fixed limit game, all we can do, we can potentially get some folds around the table even. We didn't in this case, but we can potentially get some of those. Well, we've just essentially been dealt the nuts over on the Brahe table. We are going to 3 big blind this and see what happens. We hope that people go aggressive on us. Oh, well, that was disappointing. Usually Vin plays back. So we're going to throw this ace out because it's the one that matches our ace of hearts and we can't use it. And we've just drawn into a... Who padded? Alone padded, so I don't really think that we've got a hand that we can go too crazy with. We're probably going to check. Yeah, I was pretty sure that alone was going to be better. We could have potentially bet and got some of Carol's money on that final draw, but we don't really have a hand that's strong enough to bet with, and any 4-card at that stage with the way the drawing had gone is almost certainly going to call us. So the fact that we don't beat any other 4 cards except other kings is probably not a good place to be throwing money into the pot, especially not with our tiny stack over here. So I think we probably had to check on that one and just show down instead of trying to pull money out of Carol's stack. We're not doing so well over here on the 220 fixed limit table. We're down to 530, but I'm still not too terribly worried. One hand and we can be easily back up at 1200, 1400, 1500 chips, and from there we're reasonably happy in the time being. Of course, I'm pretty happy over here on the Brahe table. This is one of those interesting examples. One of the reasons I will stream these Brahes actually fairly, or well, not necessarily Brahe, but the astronomer free rolls fairly regularly, because it's a good way to get a non-Hold'em game at any given moment. But there are issues with streaming them. One of the issues being people sit out a lot, and the strategy of play is not always optimal from other perspectives, in part because the players themselves aren't all, I mean, it's people just learning the games for the first time, which is exactly what they're for, so it's cool, and I'm not criticizing anybody for that. So I don't want to say it's bad play or anything like that. It's just inexperienced play, which you can exploit, for the record, if you know what you're doing. And, you know, that's kind of part of the point of poker, is exploiting those situations. Yeah, we're going to throw some money into this pot. We backed into a 4-card, and he's been drawing the whole time, so you know we can throw some value. We can throw some value money into that pot. But the other reason over here that it can be a weird streaming situation is because there are times when I'll get at a table and literally everybody else at the table is sitting out, which means it's 2 or 3 or 5 or 10 or even 10 or 15 minutes sometimes of me literally raising and taking everybody's blinds all the way around. And I've doubled and tripled my stack. Like I've been sat at those tables with, say, 5,000 chips, and when I finally get moved again 10 minutes later, I've got 12,000 chips. It's amazing how those happen. And of course, if that happens on a stream, I obviously love it happening at any time. But happening on a stream, it makes it kind of boring for the people watching. So when we're doing that, I'll have to find something to talk about or things to do. Thuckhammer, good to see you. Good to see you here, buddy. Yes, Badugi, as promised. I will go over the rules again shortly. Oh, that was a bitey draw. This is good, actually, time to start talking something about the rules. What I'm looking for is 4 cards of different suits and different values. The problem I have here is that I have a pair of deuces, which kills one of these cards, and I have to get rid of one of the suits, even though the suits were different. It's a little bit confusing. You'll understand as we play more hands. You'll figure out what we're doing, I think. This 3 card, the reason I'm putting money in this pot, for the record, is because this 3 card is wicked strong. If Carol gets to the end of this hand still drawing, and we both get to the end of the hand still drawing, then I'm almost certain to win with the strongest 3 card hand if neither of us have a 4 card. At this point, so I'm continuing to put money in this pot. Yeah, but even if she decided that she wanted to play around with a 3 card and see what happened, I'm almost certain that my 3 card wins there, because there's only one other 3 card that beats me, and that's a 3-deuce-1. So anyways, it's good to have some viewers here, Thuckhammer and Burko. It's good to have you guys back. Absolutely. I am going to sit out for a minute or two and go do my custodial duties, but I will be back very shortly. And I will play a little bit of PLO as well, Thuckhammer, no question. It is not HoldEm, so it's something that I will play. But that said, it's also a relatively common game. So from that perspective, there's other places that you can see it, and I'm not necessarily going to be the best source of information for it. Nonetheless, we will certainly play some PLO, absolutely. I am out of here for a few minutes. I'll be back. Just a quick break this time. We are back again. I was watching Jason Carver, or Somerville's stream. Jason Carver, Jason Somerville, whatever the hell his name is. I was watching his stream yesterday. Insane that man can go 5 or 6 hours of streaming time without taking a bathroom break. What the hell is going on in his bladder, I've got to say. I don't necessarily want to know. That's not a question I necessarily want an answer to. But what the hell does that guy have going on in his bladder? Man, I tell you, that was I lay down my arms to him because that dude's gonna beat me in any streaming contest. I have to go use the facilities every once in a while, folks. Just as a point of interest, I will go use the facilities from time to time. Free rolls are weird, Thuckhammer. They're a great way to learn the game, I think. But yeah, the play is obviously going to be different, and it's going to be, they're weird, and the dynamic of them is completely different from an actual pay game. So, yeah, I mean, I tend to agree with you, but what can you do? Let's have a look at our current situation. We are in the fixed limit game. We ended up with 33 people registering in this. It's a $2.20 fixed limit Badugi game. So we got a total prize pool of $66. The way that plays out in the end is 5 people are going to get paid with min cash of $5.28 and a first place of $26.40. It's currently 28 people left in the tournament, and we are sitting at 23rd. We're not thrilled with our chip stack of 1,070, but we don't hate it either. It gives us a few chips to work with. The stakes are not huge at this point. We're at 6120, so we don't quite have 10 big bets, but it's not a horrible sort of position to be in. So we're okay. We need to build up our stack for sure. We're not sitting on our laurels with the stack by any stretch of the imagination, but we're not in desperate we're not in desperate panic mode where we need to find chips on the first hand we possibly can. Looking at the Brahe Badugi free roll, which is pot limit, of course. There were 2,942 people starting this tournament. There's 48 tickets being given out at the end of the deal. At the moment, we're sitting 162nd, and there's 534 people left in. These also play a little bit weird. It goes down from the total number of people to to maybe 500 or 600 really quickly, and then the final 500 or 600 tends to go a lot slower. For us to get down to 48 now, we're probably another 2 hours at least, I would say, on this tournament if we don't bust first. So we have got a wicked strong hand over on the fixed limit deal. We are putting money into this pot like there's no tomorrow. We were hoping that people were gonna call us there, because with a 3-deuce-1 3 card, we are basically drawing to the nuts. I mean, anything that we hit at that point that's a 4 card is the nut 4 card for that 4th card. So, for example, let's say we hit the 9. So we hit the 9 of hearts there. We have the nut 9 4 card Badugi. We hit the 8 of hearts there. We have the nut 8 4 card Badugi. So that's absolutely a hand that you want to throw money into the pot with when you got a 3-deuce-1. Yeah. He's got to have a bag underneath the table. I guarantee you, he's got like he's got like an 8-liter Coke bottle under the table, and he's just filling those suckers as they go. I don't think that's inhuman what he does with the streaming. So yes, if you're part of the stream, I will admit right now I am human, and I will, when the tournaments take breaks, I will almost certainly take a break for a couple of minutes as well, and I will leave the microphone. Alrighty, so we've got a pretty strong 3-card hand developing over here, a 7-5 deuce, or sorry, a 5-deuce ace. We're going to throw our 7 of diamonds out. That is one of the strongest 3-card hands, so we're not drawing to the nuts, obviously, but we're drawing to not far off the nuts. We're looking for spades is what we're at, and obviously we don't want to get a ace, deuce, or 5 of spades, but any other spade is fairly happy for us. We're against people drawing 1 each, so they're probably in a similar situation to us, playing a 3-card, trying to pull their 4th in. They may be playing as good a one as us, but it's unlikely. It's likely that we're playing the best 3 cards. So on the next draw, everybody's still drawing. We probably want to still put money into the pot. Half pot. I think we're going to have to call this behind because we're still drawing to a really good 3 card. If we hit, like, for example, a 4 of spades or a 3 of spades, we're rocking. Even a 6 of spades or a 7 of spades, we're in pretty good shape, I think. So the deuce of diamonds, we are not in very good shape with that. We have a 3 card against 2 people that have padded, which means we have no value left in this hand, I don't think. So out we go. Yeah, I agree. 1020 is definitely a workable stack. There's no need to panic with that. We can definitely work with it. Just we need to be cautious in the pots that we get involved in, and we need to be sure that we're either not putting much in the pots or we're winning them. That's basically the strategy that we have to have in the fixed limit now. When we play the pots, we need to win them. Thanks, Thuckhammer. I appreciate the luck. It's always useful in poker, I think. Poker is not a game of luck, it's a game of skill, but nonetheless, luck really helps. We are going to put money in this pot. It is a 4-card Badugi, and we're going to... That's actually not a terrible result, frankly. We've got a 3-card that's a 94. That's not the best situation in the world, but with 3 draws remaining, I think we can put some money in this pot and hope it works out for us. I suppose that's probably a bad phrase in poker. Let's put money in the pot and hope it works out for us. This price is not exactly the strategy you want to work with. Right, so we actually got away with that one pretty good. We're going to fold here. We are going to... we could play the deuce 3 as a 2-card and try to improve on that, but given our chip stack and how that's kind of more speculative play with smaller stakes or a deeper stack is basically what you want to be working with that on. I want to be starting... At this point, I think I want to be starting with a solid 3-card hand at worst before I get involved in a pot in this fixed limit game. Over here I can get involved a little bit more freely, I think. This is a decent hand, 94. It's not going to be super strong if somebody's padding against it, obviously, but I think it's worth going blind on blind and raising there and just trying to pull down the blinds. We've been dealt a natural Badugi over here on the right-hand table. We are going to pat this, of course. We're not going to draw a tall into it. We're going to hope that nobody draws better than a 10-high Badugi, and at the end of the day, we've still got them drawing. We're going to keep putting money in the pot. Somebody starts raising us, like in the previous situation with our 86, we're going to be cautious because 10-6 isn't the strongest 4-card Badugi in the world. But people are still drawing to their hands, so we're still pretty confident putting money into the pot over here, I think. We're still going to pad our 3rd draw. People are still drawing, so we're still confident putting money in the pot. And we are confident dragging in a big pot. So there we go. We're back up to a stack that we're relatively comfortable with over here on the right-hand fixed limit table. We're not thrilled with this stack, obviously, but we're sitting 11th of 28, which is a comfortable spot to be in, especially at this stage of the game. We obviously would love to have a bigger stack, and we're trying to get a bigger stack when we can, but we don't need... There's absolutely no reason to panic. There's not even really any reason to be looking to be trying to create spots to get chips the way that we have to when we have a smaller stack. Here we can sort of wait for those spots to develop on their own, which they always do. So, chill out. This is, obviously got a 3-card over here that I could play, but a Queen 8 Ace is never really going to be a terribly strong hand to work with, so you may as well just get rid of it and, live to play another hand. One of the differences, of course, between the fixed limit and the pot limit game is that the pot limit game can get you all in much quicker, and the pots get much bigger, and it's a much it can potentially be a much quicker game. It also gives you more freedom to try to push people off of hands. As we play a bit more, I'll probably talk a little bit more about some deeper strategy, things that you can do with padding patterns and betting patterns to make people think that you're on a stronger hand than you actually are. Those are pretty advanced plays, and they have to be done against the right opponent for the most part. The wrong opponent is either going to suss out what you're doing and call you down because for value because they know they're good, or and this is especially applicable to the Brahe situation that I'm playing over here, will call you down because they don't know any better. and therefore your bluff will not work. So in either of those cases, you're going to be in bad shape when you try to run those sorts of bluffs. But they're more likely to work against specific opponents in a situation like this fixed limit game over here, which we've bought into for $2.20, because we have to assume that anybody that's paid $2.20 to enter a fixed limit Badugi tournament has at least a passing knowledge of the game. The UK hammer, there we go, Thook hammer. Cool. Okay, well, the UK hammer, awesome, buddy. I'll just call you Hammer for the most part. I think the UK hammer is a bit bulky, so I'll just call you Hammer. Alrighty, we have been dealt into a 4-card Badugi over here on the pot limit table. So I think we're going to throw chips into the pot. Yeah, we're going to throw chips into the pot and just try to take it down. We don't mind taking these down pre. That's not a terrible thing to have happen. Normally in poker, when you see 2 aces in your hand, you go, yay! Badugi, not so much. One of those aces would be good for us. The other ace is a useless piece of crap. We're actually going to fold this hand, because at best we're playing a 2-card ace-5 or 5-ace on there. Not a great hand. For spades, normally you see something like that in a poker hand, you go, yay! Badugi, not so much. We can get involved over here. We got a bit more of a stack, so we can be a bit more speculative. The Jack 5's obviously not the best situation that we're in, but we're in a 5-ace 2-hand. So if we were to draw a club, for instance, we can improve our Jack to improve our 3-card that way. And the 5-deuce is a fairly strong 2-card, so we don't mind being there. We're going to call through on this. We've got a super strong, we've just really disguised the strength of our 3-card hand here by just calling behind, and we're actually going to check and keep disguising the strength of that hand. Check call, I think. We're going to watch. Yeah, he's still drawing. See, I don't think that he has any conception that we are drawing to as strong of a 2-card or 3-card as we are. And we've just basically drawn into the nuts. Now, here's the dilemma. Do I bet out here, or do I check and hope he bets into me? I'm going to check and hope he bets into me. Ah, crap, he checked behind. See, I was really hoping that he would bet into me. That's why I checked there. I'm obviously not I'm not checking the nuts there. I'm checking to hopefully have him bet into me instead. I don't think we can call this. We're a Jack high 3 at best, and that's really never going to win you a lot of pots in Badugi. So yeah, exactly. A snowing hammer. That's what I'm talking about. Where you're basically using your patterns of behavior to show that you've got more than you do. You know, you're padding when you know that you don't have a strong hand. Alrighty, so we're actually pretty comfortable on both of these tables, I think now. 10,000 stack over here in the Brahe is perfectly comfortable and perfectly reasonable. Again, we're not really needing to get involved nearly as much over here anymore. We can sort of coast in as things go. We will get involved with some hands, though. I mean, this is a decent 3-card to work from, and we get a lot of pots just from raise fold. I'm mixing up my pre-flop raising situation here for I don't think we really need to fight back. He's been folding a lot to our raises, which probably means he's doing this for value. I mean, clearly he could be just annoyed at us and trying to get us off raising his big blind, but the fact that he's folded to us on several previous occasions and now he's shoving tells me that he's been waiting for a hand that he can shove back over us and hope or well, pot back over us, and therefore hope that we, you know, that we call them. So I really don't think that I had a lot of value there, frankly. This hand looks a lot better than it is. Obviously, the two jacks never look good, but the ace-3 doesn't do us any good either. So we're just gonna get rid of that. We were basically playing a two-card jack high at that point, which is crap. We've just been moved to a new table on the Brahe. We'll have a look at that in a second. I'm gonna play through here. This is not a great hand, and I don't really want to be involved in this. Probably wouldn't be if it wasn't limped to me. The fact that it's limped to me, I'm obviously gonna and I'm gonna probably check call all the way down now because we've just backed into a 4 card that's not a great 4 card, but it's not a horrible 4 card either. So we've had check, check, check around. Everybody drew 1. I'm going to pat. We draw 1. Wells drawing 1. We're going to check around again, hopefully. I could easily have thrown money into that pot there and potentially taken it down. It's kind of dangerous that I'm letting them draw against a queen because they can easily draw out better than a queen. But at this point, again, I'm just going to check down and we're going to see what happens with the pot. I think I'm going to take it. Yeah, I think I need some sort of bink bell. I think I bink air horn like I was talking about yesterday. I think one of the things I want to play with is a some sort of synthesizer sound box dealie that has a bunch of buttons that I can press for various sounds, like Stapes has on the EPT broadcasts, and they have on the Poker News podcasts that they had from Vegas that Rich Ryan's always poking buttons on. I think I need one of those. I like some of the sound clips that Jason has of Phil Hellmuth. Actually, the I can dodge bullets, baby. I love that. That's a great sound clip. That's a great sound clip. And the Northern European players as well. That one's pretty good. That was a pretty fun sound clip too. So we've got moved over to a new table over here on the Brahe. We don't really recognize anybody here, but we don't really expect to recognize anybody in free rolls like this. We'll occasionally come across people that we've seen before, and as we get deeper, we might come across people that we played before on earlier tables. Some of the bigger stacks might show their faces again as we go deeper. But for the most part, so many people come into these, and the membership is so random for them that you really rarely expect to see people that you've seen before on these tables. Obviously, I got a 3 card here, and I could play through on it, but it's just not really worth. There's not enough value in that hand to really want to bother at this stage when I don't really need to lose any chips. I'm not ignoring you here. I'm just doing some maintenance on the stream. Not getting terribly interesting hands to talk about anyways. thought I'd bring up the tournament lobby for this fixed limit one so that we can see what's happening with it. Alrighty, that way you can watch the progress of the fixed limit tournament as it goes. I won't bother to put up the Brahe because, well, we may as well put up the Brahe as well. Alrighty, so there's the Brahe lobby come up. We're going to check through on this. We've been dealt a natural Badugi over here, which is always a good thing to have, obviously. But equally, it's not a terribly strong Badugi, which is a bad thing to have because it can cost you a lot of money in a Badugi tournament. So, as not very strong hands can cost you a lot of money in other sorts of poker tournaments as well, of course. There we go. We got those streams. We're going to check and basically check pat through this if we can. Not valuing it a huge amount, but it's worth hanging about with. Over here, I think even though the king is a diamond, I'm still going to draw it because I don't really want to stand on a king anyways. So I'm not happy with this draw. I think the value of that hand went down very quickly. Alrighty, so we're still getting people drawing against us. Macross or Markow has just thrown in a pot bet. I don't think I need to stick around with this. I was basically trying to check down to a showdown pretty cheaply. That's not going to happen, obviously, and we're not strong enough to put 1,800 chips into this pot, even with the odds that we're getting out of the pot. I think there's no way we're good here. Yeah, I mean, there's just no conceivable way that we're good there with a queen. Potentially a problem with Markow's bet there is that I'm only continuing there with a hand that has him crushed. There's almost no way that I'm continuing with a 10 of any kind. It's unlikely that I'm continuing there with a 9 with that sort of a pot size bet at that point. So the only hand that I've got to that point check patting is a hand that just has him utterly crushed. Now, granted, I'm usually putting money in the pot with the hand that has him utterly crushed in that spot, but that's not necessarily the case. And you know, especially if I'm playing a little more cautiously over here, you know, that's a situation where that bet is fairly dangerous in the sense that it's basically never getting a call out of me with a worse hand, I don't think. Now he doesn't know that, I guess, but that's very clear. Oh, I absolutely love. I mean, Phil Hellmuth. He's the guy everybody loves to slag, and there's good reasons why everybody loves to slag him. And those, you know, I'm in no way saying that those reasons are bad. When he gets slagged, it's usually because he's done something that he deserves to get slagged for the most part. But that said, there's two things that you cannot deny about that you can't deny about Helmuth. Wow, that was a nice draw over on this table. It's a shame that we pulled into a heart there. Number one, you cannot deny the man's World Series of Poker record. It simply makes him the best tournament poker player in the world. There's no, you know, you can talk about who's the hottest now, or who's the best new player, or whatever. But as a lifetime achievement, you simply can't. You know, his yeah, that wasn't the best call in the world. I had a pretty strong 3 cards, so I wanted to see what was going on there. You know, you simply can't argue with the fact that the man has 13 bracelets. But beyond 13 bracelets, over this past summer, there was a statistic that came out that just boggled my mind. He has something like 24 final table appearances at the World Series of Poker out of 109 cashes, I believe it was. So that in itself is an astounding stat. A quarter of the time that he cashes at the WSOP, he makes it to the final table. That is an astounding, an absolutely astounding stat, I think. And then it comes to the next astounding stat, which is of those 24, I believe it was 24 times that he's made it to the final table of the World Series of Poker, he's been heads up. No, sorry, it was more than that. He's made it to the final table something like 40 times. Let me do some internet research on this. Yeah, I figured as much. Let me see this. The stat is astounding. It basically ends up being that half the time he makes it to the final table, he ends up being heads up for a bracelet, and it's just I mean, the record is just absolutely astounding, in my mind, anyways, for poker. And you simply can't deny that when looked at as a lifetime achievement, he is the best tournament poker player alive at the moment. You can't argue with his World Series of Poker record, and there's no other tournament series that gives a player enough consistent wins and results to measure against, other than the World Series. So, you know, that does it. But the other thing that makes Phil Hellmuth such a great part of the poker community is that he's fun. He's fun to watch. He's entertaining. He is a showman. I mean, there's you know, he's as much showman as any showman in the possible, you know, in the world. And whether he's doing something that you love or doing something that you hate, he's doing something that you want to watch, right? And he's doing something that people love to watch and that people have an opinion on in some form or another. And that makes him the center of attention, which is obviously what he wants to be as well. But that's cool. I mean, that's, you know, that's his place in the poker world, I guess, is to be that guy that comes into Caesars in a Julius Caesar outfit with half a dozen slave girls all around him, and guys pulling him in a guys pulling him in a chair, or a chariot or something silly like that. That's his job in the poker world, and we love him and make fun of him for it. but he knows that it's his job to be that sort of clown prince of poker, and he plays it beautifully, right? You know, people keep saying that Ivey will beat his bracelet record, and I certainly think that's possible. I certainly don't want to diss Phil Ivey in any sense whatsoever. But Phil's still winning them too. And I mean, Ivey hasn't exactly been on a tear over the past few years. So I don't know. I mean, I think that I mean, Phil's still got a few left in him. I don't think that Phil's done. Phil may have won his last HoldEm bracelet, but I think his Raz bracelet has proven that he has not finished. He's not finished winning WSOP bracelets, and he's going to win a lot more. The guy's only 50. You know, he's going to win a lot more bracelets before he's finished his poker career, and so's Ivey. There's no question about it. But I think at the end, of the day, he's going to be a tough act to catch. You know, I think Phil Ivey's going to be close, and I think Phil Ivey might very well beat him. But I don't think it's going to be like everybody thinks, where Ivey's just going to run away with it at some point. I don't really see that happening. I don't see the evidence of that happening right now. Right now is when Ivey should be running away with it, and he hasn't been. You know, right now is as Helmuth is slowing down in his older age. Now is when Ivey should be catching up, and Phil's widening the gap. He's certainly keeping the gap there, and he's widening it in the past couple of years. So we're gonna probably check call here. We know he's gonna put us in. Oh, that was harsh. 5-4 deuce against 5-3 deuce. That was harsh. That was a harsh way to go out of that. I think we probably had to check. Well, I don't know. If we bet, we might get a fold out of him, but it's doubtful because we're putting all of our stack in. And I think given his stack, he can't afford to fold for the odds he's getting for the pot with a 3-card that strong. So I don't think that it plays out any differently, even if we bet there instead of check calling there. But really, I mean, that's brutal to end up with a 54 and run into a 53 3-card like that. That's the absolute definition of brutal in Badugi poker. Calling down with a strong 3-card like that and getting beat by just a single card better is annoying. Anyways, so that kills us on the 220 fixed limit Badugi. That's cool. We're still playing the pot limit Badugi on the other table, though. I'm going to do a bit of stream maintenance and get that other table showing a bit better for us, I think. So bear with me if you could. We get that one. That one off. I'm going to fold that one over there. Let's pull the weekly round 2 satellite up there. Put him on. Let's move our tournament lobby over there. This looks like a strong hand, but the fact that we've paired the ace here makes it far less attractive than it actually is, for the record. So alrighty, that gives us access to both the tournament lobby and the game that we are playing. So how's that for technical wizardry? Alrighty, Burko, we'll see you later. I agree with you. I think that that's basically the point that I just made with Ivey. He's not gonna, I mean, I certainly think he's gonna be there, but it's, I don't think that Phil's gonna be a walkover either. And Hammer, I agree actually with you about his cash. Watching him play cash is insanely entertaining. He's a bad cash player. Let's be. Well, I shouldn't say he's a bad cash player. Compared to me, he's a good cash player. I'm sure he'd take all my money if we sat down and played cash against each other. But when he's playing against Durr and Negreanu and people like that, he is just getting his ass handed to him on a plate, playing cash poker, and it is absolutely fun to watch because he thinks. Well, I honestly get the feeling that he treats it exactly the same way that he treats, tournament poker, and it's the wrong way to. I mean, cash poker and tournament poker are different beasts entirely. There's a wholly different mindset to how you value hands, value. I mean, there's absolutely no conception in cash poker of your place in the general scheme of things. It's a hand-by-hand experience that once one hand is over, it's over. And really, other than tendencies and patterns of behavior by other people, there's nothing of value about that past hand that's going to play into the future on the table. Whereas in tournament poker, I mean, the stack of chips you have in front of you is your lifeline in the tournament, and it's a totally different thing. So I think when he goes to cash, he thinks in far more tournament ways, and the guys that are good cash players just eat them for lunch. Basically, I think is what happens. But that's fun to watch because when they do eat him for lunch, he has a nice blow up, and it makes for good TV. So it's all part of the Phil Hellmuth deal that at some point in time he's going to go on a cash game and people are going to eat him for lunch and he's going to have a blow up, and that's part of the entertainment deal. That's why they're paying him to be on those shows. I love him, actually. I think he's a great player. I love watching him. I love watching some of the old Premier League, especially Premier League 2. Some of the battles between Phil and Tony G are just epic stuff. When you put those two in a room together, and you get good television. There's just no question about it. You don't even have to have them playing poker. I don't think you put G and Hellmuth in a room together, and you're just gonna get fucking good television. That's just all there is to it. Those two guys are just like dynamite together, and it's they really need to. I mean, I almost have a feeling that the reality of the situation is that they hate each other's guts in the real world, so it's not an act, which makes it somewhat less entertaining, I guess. But nonetheless, from a television producer's perspective, I think you just want to put those two in a room together as often as you possibly can, because it's just it would be a remarkable. It's always a remarkable bit of TV. We have got our Badugi's pot limit free roll still running, of course. Coming up at 4:30, 4:30 my time, which is 2 hours from now, roughly. I'll be playing a Micro Millions 70, which is a $5.50 no limit hold'em tournament that I won a ticket to last night. Fairly happy with that, so that'll be fun to play. I don't think I'll stream that though, because it's no limit hold'ems, and this is anything but hold'em, so I probably won't stream that, but it'll be fun to play it anyways. We're going to draw to our 10-9 here. Not the greatest hand in the world. It's getting a little bit better. We've just improved our hearts to an 8, so we're playing a 98 now instead of a 10-9, which is slightly better. I think we want to actually be putting money into this pot to a certain extent, just because we can potentially get folds at this stage. We're improving with every draw, which is something that we want to be doing and that we're happy to be doing. And there, we've just backed into our Badugi. So I think what we're actually going to do is we're going to play this for value, and we're going to pot for value. and we're going to see if he wants to come in with us, because I think that I'm positive that we have the best hand there. Absolutely. Now I might have wanted to half pot there for value instead, but yeah, actually I agree with you on that, Hammer. Cash games are definitely, that's where the value of the of the hammer, of the all-in, really comes in. Cash poker, or tournament poker, is very much a small ball game. You know, people are 2x raising, and there's obviously some math involved. Well, I shouldn't say only some math. There's a crap load of math involved in it. You know, but in a tournament situation, the odds you get on the pot are not necessarily a good enough reason to get involved in the pot at that particular stage of the tournament with the particular stack that you have versus the particular stack that the guy beside you has. In cash, that's never really a consideration. If you're getting 5-to-1 odds to enter the pot, you're entering the pot regardless, right? I mean, that's just the way it works in a cash game. In a tournament game, if you're getting 5-to-1 odds, you should still be entering the pot a lot of times when you're getting 5-to-1 odds. But there are going to be situations where even at 5-to-1 odds, the situation of the tournament dictates that getting involved in the pot is not a good idea. Yeah, in the big game, they're great together as well. That's awesome. G was just great on the big game all around. There's probably one of my best Tony G situations was him and Vanessa Russo, where she coolers him with aces, and at one point during the hand, she coolers him with aces, and he's playing back aggressive with her, and he's being his all you know talkative G self. And at one point in his hand, he says, "Yeah, beat me in this hand, and you'll shut me up." And Stapes is doing the commentary, and he pipes in right immediately with, "Well, Tony G's just added unspeakable value to this pot," which is perhaps one of the funniest poker lines that's ever been uttered in poker broadcast history. Yeah, Phil Hellmuth and Antonius are fun too. I get the like I said, I kind of get the feeling that Hellmuth and Tony G actually hate each other in the real world as well. But when they get together and they do it on TV, somehow it seems to come out as jovial. When I watch Hellmuth and Antonius together, it's just full-on hate. It seems like it doesn't work out to be jovial really in any sense that I find in that situation. So I find it less fun to watch with Antonius and Hellmuth than I do with G and Hellmuth, even though I think that they hate each other in both cases. It shows more, I think, in the case with Antonius. Mostly because Antonius, generally speaking, isn't a particularly jovial fellow to begin with. He's a an icy Scandinavian that sits there with a straight face most of the time, and when he does smile, it can actually be kind of scary sometimes when he smiles. Cool. Well, maybe I will throw it on stream. We'll see. We'll see how I feel at that point. At that point, I'll have been streaming for 3.5 hours, so I may feel like giving my vocal cords a break at that point. We'll see. This tournament's coming down to the wire a little bit. We've got 102 people, or I'm sitting 102nd with 136 left in the tournament. That sounds like I'm sitting pretty low, and I am, but it's not a horrible place to be in these. What you'll find is that there's people that have a bigger stack than me that are still panicking at this point, maybe because they've been like one of these guys and had a stack, and then they've got coolered on a hand and they've lost a bunch, and they're like, oh my god, I've only got 16,000 left or whatever, and so they're desperately trying to build stacks, and they will go out from on top of me, which moves my position up. And as a matter of fact, that's just happened. If you're watching up here in the top corner or on the tournament screen, you'll see that I've just moved up into 99th position, simply because of people going out. So we're looking for 48 tickets in this one. These free rolls are a bit of a long shot. I mean, it was almost 3,000 people sat down at the table, and they're only giving out 48 tickets. So it is a bit of a long shot. I mean, you're looking at like 1,000 to 1. No, sorry, 100 to 1 payout structure there. But that said, it's relatively easy to get to the final. Certainly to the final 1,000, final 500 stage of these, and then as your skills improve at each one of the game, you'll find it's relatively easy to get through. I mean, I don't want to diss by any stretch of the imagination and, you know, say that I'm crappy and horrible, but I also don't want to overplay them and say that, you know, I'm a super strong world-class poker player either. You know, I'm neither. I'm sort of a fairly average recreational player that pays attention to the game and thinks about it a bit and reads up on stuff, and so has some skills, but is certainly not a world-class player by any stretch of the imagination. And I'm regularly able to make it through and get tickets in this format. I think I've got 7 tickets stacked up in my box waiting for me to play the final rounds. I still play them because I go on dry spells, and I'll use up those 7 in a couple of, you know, in maybe 3 or 4 weeks, playing 2 a weekend where I and I don't win any of these saddies, but they're still fun to play, I think, and they're the easiest way to get involved in some of the other games without having to drop any money down. Yeah, I think I've seen a few of the Tony G compilations on YouTube, and they're all a lot of fun. He's another one of those guys that, love him or hate him, you watch him. You know, he's an entertaining fellow, and so he generates strong opinions on either side, but that's cool. I mean, you don't need to have people love you all the time when you want to be a personality, you know, a TV personality. You need people to pay attention to you, and people absolutely pay attention to G. There's no question. You can't not pay attention to G when he's in the room, right? So that makes him a compelling presence, and, you know, so you either love him or you hate him, but he's somebody that is just fascinating to watch when he's at a poker table or on TV. Well, I think I haven't really seen him do too much outside of I haven't seen him do too much outside of the poker arena, but I would think that he's probably a lot more compelling when he's playing poker than he is when he's not playing poker. Of course, we're going to see him less playing poker these days because he's a parliamentarian in the Ukrainian parliament, is it now, or something? Although I don't know, was he in the parliament that got ousted by the coup, or was he in the parliament that got elected after the coup? I'm not clear on that one, so I'm not sure whether he was one of the guys that got thrown out, or whether he was one of the guys that got elected after everybody got thrown out. Yeah, I certainly may do that. I don't imagine. What time is it now? 2:30 here. I got an hour and a half. Well, a couple hours, hour and a bit left until the next one. I don't imagine this is going to go on a huge amount of time longer, but it could easily go on another hour. I think we'll see. I mean, I think he's probably just powering the pot here in this situation to take it away from me. But I don't really have a strong enough hand to play back with him on that situation without potting back myself and putting myself in a pretty precarious situation with a hand that's not hugely strong. So I think just getting out of that hand is probably the place to go. I hadn't really put in a ton of ton of money on it anyway, so. We do technically have a 3-card Badugi in this hand, the Jack 9-8, but it is a crappy 3-card Badugi, so let's not even bother to play it. Badugi 101. If you see paired cards and lots of cards of one suit in your hand, it's not a good Badugi hand. Get rid of it. Throw it away. Throw it away. I appreciate that, Hammer. I try to think. That's the whole point. I mean, that's really the whole point of poker, right? You've got to... It's a bunch of decision points, and at each decision point you have to be making the best decision that you can with the information that's available to you. For the record, a 2-3 2-card is a great place to start a Badugi hand from, so it's worth on a triple draw game like this to see what happens when you throw these 2 cards away and see if you pull out a 4 or 5 of hearts maybe. Something like that. There we go. See, 6 of hearts. So we're working on a 63 Badugi draw at the moment, which is we're actually on a pretty strong hand, and we're actually going to be throwing chips into this pot. We might end up stacking off against. Yeah, we're going to stack off against these guys, and we're gonna see. And the difference between me calling here versus calling here before is stack size and also the strength of my hand. I'm way stronger than I was over here. So even if I don't draw into a 4-card, if he doesn't, I'm still confident in my 3-card. Wow, 6-3-1 versus 6-3 deuce. It's almost the same thing that happened to us over on the other table. That is harsh. That is harsh. Twice in the same game. Well, we're gonna go for broke on this 4-5-7 7-5-4 hand. Yeah, actually, no, I agree. Tony G is a far better poker player than people give him credit for, and a far better poker player than he himself will admit to while he's sitting at the poker table. In fact, part of his shtick is the whole, oh, I'm just an average guy who, sits down, and if I can win this, then anybody can come and win this. He is a very sharp poker player. And don't let anybody fool you into thinking that he isn't a very sharp poker player, because that man knows his game. Wow, we just literally sucked into a huge Badugi hand over on this one to save our lives, which is fair, I suppose, considering we got literally sucked out on with that 6-3-1. Well, not sucked out on, but brutally bad beated on that 6-3-1 versus 6-3 deuce hand. So, I mean, I suppose in the general scheme of the poker world, that's karma, poker karma, I suppose. I'm really hoping to draw a club at some point here so I can improve my my queen there, but either way, I think at this point, if I draw in, nobody's really thrilled with their hand, so I might even win with this 3-card, frankly. It's doubtful, but it's possible. I don't think we need to get involved when we're queen high, frankly. We're getting down to the end stages of the tournament here, which means that if we play cautiously, this is also a satellite format, so it's important to remember that you really are playing an entirely different game of poker when you're playing a satellite versus a regular MTT when you get down to the nitty-gritty of the bubble, because here's the thing, it matters in an MTT whether I amass a big chip stack, a medium chip stack, or just barely squeak through the bubble with a tiny chip stack, because it matters, because I will win more money the deeper I go, and so the more chips I have, the deeper I'll go and the more money I'll get. Pretty simple concept. That's not the case in a satellite. It doesn't matter in a satellite where I finish. If I'm in the top 48, they give me a ticket. If I'm not in the top 48, they don't give me a ticket. So no matter whether I finish 48th or first, makes no freaking difference to me in these tournaments whatsoever. And you should always play your satellite with that in mind. If you squeak into the money, cool, because squeaking into the money gives you the exact same prize as the guy that amasses the biggest chip stack to get into the money in first place. And that's a key difference in the satellite that really should inform your strategy, I think, when you're playing those strategies. Right, we're on a break again, so I am going to zip off quickly, and we shall return. Jason Somerville, I am not, ladies and gentlemen. Back at you in a few. Alrighty, I am back again. 2 minutes left in our break. Been playing around with the graphics that I'm using for the background and for the side and stuff. Curious what you think of it, Hammer. Let me know. I've changed it around a bit. I think I'm pretty close to something that I'm happy with. I kind of like the cards up there on the top. I actually had a hell of a time finding a stud hand to put up there. I had to build it myself, in fact. Found some open source card graphic images I could use to put it together, but I did some Google searches online, and it's damned hard to find any sort of a graphic of a stud hand that you can use anywhere. Thank you. I agree. Everyone deserves a little bankage, especially when we're getting reverse banked by things like the 6-3-1 versus the 6-3 deuce. We're still doing okay over here. We're not thrilled with our position, obviously, but we're not terribly terrified with it either. We're 95th out of 113, 48 people pay, so we're getting close to that little mark, and we almost certainly do need to get some more chips before we're going to get to there. But I think this is a spot where we need to put our chips into the middle and draw to our 86 and hope it comes through for us is sort of the way we have to go, just because if we can double up one more time, we can pretty much make our way. And yeah, we're actually developing a better hand now, so we've got a better 3 card. We're 63 now. So I think we're almost certainly going to keep playing. Oh, that sucks that we hit the 3 of clubs there instead of like a 4 of clubs or something. That is just the worst sort of club draw that we could possibly have hit. Now, of course, the difficult part here is, do we throw the 3 clubs or the 3 of diamonds? Let's assume we're going to get another club back. Yo, that was just an awesome draw that we hit there at the end, and boom. So that's the way pot limit Badugi goes sometimes. Sometimes you just got to sort of spray and pray at the beginning, and assume that if you draw 3 times, you're going to end up drawing into a reasonably strong hand. Now, you obviously need to assume that when you've got a strong starting position, as we sort of did at that point. You know, where you're starting from makes a huge difference in the kind of hand that you're going to end up developing as the hand plays out. Yeah, cats and keyboards is always a rough situation. I have not seen that hammer. Let me have a quick look. Aha! That looks very interesting. I think I might have to have a play through that in a little bit and see where it goes. Actually, in the same token, I don't know if you've seen this or not. With so many suits matching, I don't like that. But I'm just over on my browser screen for a second. Oh, bear with me while I look for something that I want to... I gotta fold that with the queen in there. It's not much fun. There's been the HoldEm with Holloway series running on the main Poker News site over the past little while, which has been a pretty good series if you're looking to learn about HoldEm. But we had on Poker News Canada an amazing series. There we go. An amazing series by a guy named Ken Lowe, who is a mixed game specialist. And this series was a phenomenal example of explanations of each mix game, and I'm just going to post a link in the chat for that here in a second. Give me just 1 second. I've found mostly what I want here. Here we go. Okay, I'm gonna pop into the chat window here. That is the first article of a series of, I believe, 10 or whatever the total dealer's choice in the WSOP ended up being. We've been dealt into a 76-43, which is a pretty awesome Badugi hand, even if you draw into it. But if you're dealt it, it's pretty darn awesome. And we are going to keep throwing money into this pot because we have a value, because we have a hand that we're happy to value. We don't even think he's really likely to draw out against us. I mean, it certainly is possible for him to draw out against us, but at this point we are very happy to have all of our chips in the middle. Right, so that link I gave you is the first article in a series by Ken Lowe on all of the various games that were played in the Dealer's Choice at the WSOP this year. And it is well worth the read of that one and all of the ones that that finish. If you go to our ca.pokernews.com and search for Out of the Kitchen and Into the Spotlight, you will find all of the articles, and there's a Badugi, there's all of the stud variants, there's all of the Omaha variants in there. It's like a treasure trove of strategy tips, and I will say off the top that there's a couple of them where he has long meandering stories that seem to have very little to do with the actual point of the article he's writing. But I have to say, on other occasions, he's got long meandering stories that when you get to the end, you realize they're precisely on point to what he's trying to talk about with the poker game that he's going into. So it's entirely possible that on the ones that seem to me to have not had anything to do with the article in question, I may just not be getting the depth of the strategy reference he's making to the game, because I know that in the case of his Raz one, the way he describes Raz is as bang on, like as far like not in the play. I'm talking about the example he uses, and I won't go into any sort of deal about spoiling anything for you or anything. But it is the most apt kind of story to explain how it feels to play Raz that I've ever heard for describing Raz. It's perfect. So have a read of that article or that series of articles. It's very good and well worth your time. Yeah, well, the WSOP around the Dealer's Choice, and that's specifically what this series of articles was about. Ken Lowe actually played and cashed in the Dealer's Choice at the WSOP, and a couple of months before the tournament, he talked to our editor and said he wanted to write a series about all strategy for all of the games that was going to be in the Dealer's Choice this year. And so we said, sure, please come and write the article for us. So he wrote that series of articles, and then he went to Vegas and sat down in the actual Dealer's Choice and cashed. So, you know, the articles are pretty useful information, I think, because they're coming from a guy who clearly knows what he's talking about when it comes to the off HoldEm games. He very much seems bang on in the games that I think I know reasonably well. He seemed bang on, and when I've employed his strategies in the games that I don't think I know well, I've done better than I normally would have. So that's, you know, I think that says everything that you need to. Reverse binkage. I like that one too. I think we might have to put reverse binkage into our list of list of phrases here at Anything But Hold'em, because reverse bankage happens a lot in especially in draw games where I mean the thing that I always have issues with in draw games, and Badugi's included in this as well, although for some reason I seem to have a better grasp of at least the strength of my hand compared to the range of possibilities out there than I do in other games, other draw games. But the problem that I always run into with draw games, frankly, is that I have no idea what I have no idea really. There's no information on the strength of my opponent's hand. In every other poker game that you play, other than draw games, you get information about what your opponent could be on, either by looking at the cards on the board in a community board game like Omaha or Hold'em, or by looking at their individual boards in a game like Stud, where you've got 4 cards dealt face up of their hand, and you can look and you can see, well, you know, he obviously can't be playing 4 of a kind because, well, you know, if he's playing 4 of a kind, he's got to have all 3 of his down cards as matching one of the ones up, because he doesn't have that. And especially in the low games, you know, if you're playing King, Queen, Jack, and I'm on a 9, well, I know I've got you beat if we're playing a low game. So, you know, in those cases where I'm getting information, I'm feeling a lot more comfortable in, you know, I'm getting a lot more comfortable in what I'm doing in those cases. So, this is annoying over here. I mean, I'm essentially putting my life on the line for no reason if I play this hand, despite the fact that it's a really strong 3-card starting hand. Or, well, I shouldn't say really strong, but a reasonably strong 3-card starting hand. But at this stage, there's no reason to put my tournament life on the line in a case where I may not draw out anything that's going to win any pots for me. Now, in that case, I was obviously drawing good, but you don't know that, right? And at this stage of the game, remember, we're in a satellite, so satellite strategy means I've got enough chips to click the sit out button, walk away, make myself a coffee, and almost certainly still end up in, if not a ticket, or very close to a ticket. Now, obviously, if I click the sit out button, people are going to cannibalize my blinds, so I'm going to go down much quicker than I would if I don't click. But if I'm essentially a dead spot where all I'm doing is looking at my cards and tossing them back to the dealer in 99.9% of the hands that I'm doing, then I'm still reasonably happy at this point with 21 or 22 big bets to just kind of sit here like a lump on a log and end up in taking home a ticket at the end of the day. Obviously, if we're playing a regular MTT where the size of my chip stack mattered more, I would probably that hand, and I might well have put myself all in so that I could double or triple up my stack and have a huge stack. But it wasn't necessary in that situation, so I didn't see a reason to do it. In this spot, if we get a chance to check through to the first draw, we're going to draw to the ace. We're going to draw our ace of clubs to draw to a 76, and that's a reasonably good draw hand to go in. Again, in a regular MTT, I'm probably playing this pretty aggressively. But in this situation, there's no need to play it aggressively. If I can check down to a cheap showdown, I'm thrilled with that. If I bank out a 5 of hearts, for example, I'm probably going to go hard with that and put my life on the line for it just to get some more chips. Now in this spot, 1 draw remaining. Pazyuk padded on the last draw and drew 2 on the other card. Now he may well be on a very high 4 card, and that's probably the case, but I have no doubt whatsoever that he's on a 4 card of some sort, which means I have to draw out to win. Yes, exactly, a king queen. I had to draw out to win. And there's no question that I would have drawn out better than the Jack 8 of Moneymaker. So yeah, no, I agree. Reverse bankage is way better than suckouts. So we're definitely I think we're definitely putting that one in our lexicon of phrases, along with a steaming pile of stinking dog poo for the sorts of hands that we don't want to play. That's another one that's going into our that goes into our little vault of sayings. At first, it was really weird to be playing a game live on one screen while I'm watching the stream from 3 minutes ago on another screen, which of course you have to do when you're streaming to make sure that everything's going out right and seeing it and so on. You have to be kind of monitoring what's going on. And at first, I found it really kind of weird and a bit disorienting. But now, actually, I'm finding it quite interesting and kind of fun to go back and watch what I was doing 3 minutes ago. Yeah, I suppose you're right. Actually, making notes is probably one of the key aspects of getting back to that. I'm folding this handout. I would never fold this in another context. But we're dropping down to 92 now. I mean, I really don't think that I think that stack preservation at this stage of the tournament is of a satellite tournament is far more important than trying to amass a chip stack in a situation where people have big stacks and they are happy to throw their chips around, because that's a very dangerous situation. Obviously, in the situation I'm in, I can be stacked by anybody at the table, so that puts me in a situation where I can be gone in one hand. And I don't want to be gone in one hand. I want to still be hanging around when there's when another 41 people have lost all of their chips. I want to still have a pile of chips in front of me. This is the objective today. In fact, actually, I've always said in the previous streams that your objective should always be to win the tournament. This is the one case where your objective is not to win the tournament. Your objective should never be to win the tournament in a satellite. Your objective should be to get a satellite ticket, which means to finish in whatever position is sufficient to get you a satellite ticket, which means I am not trying to win the tournament in this case by any stretch of the imagination. I am simply trying to finish 48th or better. There's no reason for me to try to do anything other than finish 48th or better in this tournament, because I get nothing out of finishing any better than 48th. So obviously I want to do things to ensure that I get into and stay in the top 48, but I have no reason to do things to try to get to be the top chip stack. I have absolutely no reason in the world to try to do those sorts of things. So it's an important switch in strategy mindset, I think, when you're playing satellites versus playing a regular MTT with cash prizes that depend on where you finish. I think I do need to make notes more on my opponent's hammer. I agree with that. Draw games are probably all about the notes that you have from previous play. I'm kind of bad at making notes anyways, partly because my HoldEm HUD makes notes for me, and that makes me lazy, and that's a really bad thing to be in poker. But the other reason, and this is very true for a game like this Brahe free roll that I'm playing, if I make a note on a player, my chances of actually seeing that player again in my lifetime are bordering on 0. So the note just kind of gets lost in the ether, and yeah, if he comes around again, it might